Welcome to Homeless U.S. News.
It just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. Traffic, the pollution, and the overcrowding. And it's getting worse every day.
I'm homeless because I choose not to have the bills and possessions that most men let define themselves.
We just put the tent up when it started raining, because as soon as the cops see the tent, they don't want to see us comfortable, you know. They think that we're all addicts out here, you know.
In the dim back streets of Las Vegas, life flickers between hope and despair. They call this place Sin City, a land once radiant with promise, industry, and the pulse of the American dream. In 2024, over 7,906 souls in Las Vegas, Nevada slept without shelter each night, a 20% rise from the year before, says HUD point-in-time count. But these aren't statistics. They are human stories of courage, loss, and the will to survive. This is not just homelessness. This is the heartbeat of Las Vegas, crying out for compassion before it fades into the dark.
They came over here and they started punching like homeless people that were sleeping on the benches and throwing firecrackers at them, all kinds of stuff, yeah. They hit me in the back of the head with a chain.
My only problem is the job. I don't have a job.
Nevada's homelessness rate stands at 32 per 10,000 residents, the 9th highest nationwide, igniting a powder keg where outreach programs logged a staggering 9,189 unique cases from early day. How long can the entertainment capital turn a blind eye to this ticking time bomb of inequality? The magnitude of the crisis. Homelessness in Las Vegas is not just a number written on a report. It is something you can see in real time if you step away from the strip and really look. Behind the neon lights, behind the crowds celebrating vacations and winnings, there are people sleeping on sidewalks, curled beside brick walls, drifting from spot to spot because no place feels safe enough to pause. When recent counts show nearly 8,000 individuals without stable housing, that isn't a statistic. It's thousands of stories that never get asked about. You notice the struggle in the smallest details. A man using his backpack as a pillow because it holds everything he owns. A woman sitting near a storefront, staring into the distance, not waiting, just trying to exist. A pair of worn shoes placed next to a person asleep on cardboard, as if removing them is the only way to rest for a moment. These are pieces of lives that once had routines, homes, laughter, family photos, and plans. What makes this crisis heavier is how visibly it clashes with the environment around it. There are streets filled with tourists taking pictures, lining up for shows, celebrating birthdays, while just a few blocks away, someone is trying to stay warm through the night. In the desert heat, people try to find shade that doesn't disappear. In the winter cold, they wrap clothing tighter, hoping the wind doesn't cut through. Women and middle-aged adults now make up a larger share of those outside, people who held jobs, raised kids, and lived normally before everything unraveled. When shelters fill, many sleep under bridges or near bus stops, not because they want to, but because every option before that has already failed. And that's the reality people rarely talk about. The moment when someone realizes they no longer have a door to close at night. So let me ask you something real. When you see someone sitting alone on the sidewalk, what do you think their story was before that moment? And how different would your life feel if it were you? If this touches something inside you, leave a comment below, even just a thought, and subscribe to Homeless US News. Thanks for watching. Main causes of homelessness. Homelessness in Las Vegas rarely happens all at once. It builds slowly, in quiet moments most people never see. It begins when rent increases faster than income, when a missed payment turns into eviction, when someone loses hours at work in a tourism-driven economy that changes without warning. People try to hold on. They stretch paychecks, sell belongings, share rooms, or stay in cheap motels believing things will improve. But for many, that improvement never arrives. Housing is the core issue. When one room costs nearly what a full-time worker earns in a week, stability becomes fragile. Some families move from place to place, hoping to catch up, but falling further behind. Others lose their homes not because they mismanaged life, but because the numbers simply stopped working. Economic disruptions make it worse. Las Vegas jobs fluctuate with seasons and tourism cycles. And when hours are cut, the foundation cracks fast. For some, the first night outside feels unreal. They didn't imagine life could change that drastically. Behind this financial strain is emotional exhaustion. When every day becomes a calculation about survival, even strong people begin to break internally. Some shut down, others cope quietly, and the world rarely sees how much effort it takes just to endure. Domestic situations add another layer. Many individuals end up outside after leaving unsafe environments, knowing that the street, as harsh as it is, still feels safer than where they came from. The tragedy is not just losing housing, but losing the sense of who they were. And that fall can happen to people who once lived normal, steady lives. If this touches something inside you, leave a comment and subscribe to Homelessness News. Awareness is what keeps these stories from disappearing, and your presence helps bring visibility to those who are often unseen. The emptiness evident on many faces. If you stand long enough on a street in Las Vegas, you'll notice something more disturbing than the worn tents, the makeshift blankets, or the scattered belongings. You'll notice the expression in people's eyes. It's a hollow kind of stare, not dramatic, not loud, but painfully quiet. It's the look of someone who has grown used to being ignored, someone who has learned not to expect warmth when they speak, someone who carries exhaustion that sleep no longer fixes. This emptiness doesn't appear overnight. It forms slowly. It builds each time someone stands in line for shelter and still gets turned away. It grows when a person waits for work, yet no calls return. It deepens when people walk past them without speaking, without even making eye contact, like their existence blends into the pavement. You can see it most clearly in the late evening, when traffic thins and the sidewalks start emptying. That's when faces reveal emotion most honestly, without distraction. There are people who once lived with confidence, who once had routines, celebrations, goals, and now feel themselves fading inside. A man who once held meetings now sits alone outside a convenience store, staring into nothing. A woman who once decorated her home now sleeps near loading docks, covering her face to block the cold air. A young person who once dreamed of careers now barely speaks because speaking requires energy they no longer have. And that emptiness doesn't just show exhaustion, it shows how long someone has been fighting without relief. But even behind those vacant eyes, there are moments when emotion returns. It happens when someone receives clean clothing, when they get a hot meal without being judged, when someone calls their name instead of saying, "Hey you." Small gestures remind them they are not invisible. Their gaze softens, their shoulders relax, and for a moment, they look like themselves again, not someone lost to circumstance. And subscribe to Homeless US News so you don't miss the lives, faces, and realities hidden behind the bright glow of this country. Awareness is not just information, it's acknowledgement. And acknowledgement is often the first piece of healing someone receives. Souls lost amid the streetlights. In a city glowing with billboards and promises, there are also people sitting quietly in the dim corners where the lights never seem to reach. You see them near sidewalks, around parking garages, or resting against walls where the shadows feel safer than the crowds. Las Vegas sells excitement, wealth, possibility, but right beside all of that, some lives are slowly fading without anyone noticing. Many of these individuals didn't come here to suffer. They once had plans, routines, even hopes that life in Nevada would open a new chapter. Some worked in casinos, restaurants, hotels, places full of noise and movement. But when wages collapsed, relationships fell apart, or rent climbed beyond reach, one setback turned into another, until they found themselves sleeping on pavement that still holds heat from the daytime sun. You can see the quiet struggle in how they move. Someone carrying bedding like it's the last piece of their past. Someone pushing a small cart filled with clothes, papers, and memories. Someone sitting alone under a bridge just to escape the daylight that exposes everything they've lost. People walk past, barely looking, and in those moments, the loneliness becomes heavier than hunger or cold. What hurts most is that these individuals rarely ask for attention. They don't shout, they don't demand anything loudly. Instead, they shrink into corners, hoping not to be pushed away, hoping not to be told to move, hoping someone will speak to them without judgment. And while thousands walk through the strip focused on entertainment, the ones in the dark simply hope the night passes gently. But within that darkness, there are small sparks. Someone shares food, someone drops off a sleeping bag, someone points toward a shelter, someone simply says hello, and that tiny gesture reminds them they are not invisible. If you were sitting alone under city lights, watching everyone else celebrate life while you fought to stay warm, what kind of compassion would you want someone to show you? What simple act would make you feel human again? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Your voice matters more than you think. And subscribe to Homeless US News so you never miss the real, unseen lives beneath America's brightest lights. Footsteps without meaning in life. Across Las Vegas, you can see people walking aimlessly, not because they want to, but because staying still means being exposed. You see them moving slowly along sidewalks, dragging worn-out belongings, stopping for a moment under the shade of a closed storefront, then continuing again because no space truly belongs to them. These footsteps carry the weight of uncertainty. Each step reflects a life paused, a future postponed. Some of these individuals once woke up with purpose. They clocked into jobs, raised families, paid rent, and made plans. Today, those same people walk through long stretches of pavement because sleeping outdoors invites fear. Fear of losing the little they have, fear of being approached, fear of what the night brings. When you watch them closely, you notice how movement becomes survival. They walk not towards something, but away from everything that hurt. Over time, drifting like that takes something from a person. When every day repeats, identity fades. Voices soften, eyes stop meeting other eyes. Someone who used to love conversation now barely speaks. Someone who once worked double shifts now counts time by when the sun rises and when police patrols arrive. A mother who once decorated her kitchen now folds her life into one plastic bag. And behind those footsteps is a truth many avoid acknowledging. When life collapses, people don't fall quickly. They fade quietly. But even inside those fading steps, hope doesn't disappear completely. A folded flyer offering a housing program becomes a lifeline. A cup of coffee handed without judgment becomes a moment of warmth. Someone remembering a person's name becomes a reminder that they once mattered, and still do. And when help finally reaches them, footsteps change. They become purposeful again. Someone walks into a job interview. Someone walks into an apartment with keys for the first time in months. Someone walks toward a version of themselves they thought was gone. So here's a question worth holding. If life forced you to push everything you own down the street, what kindness would you hope strangers offered you? What small moment would give you strength? Leave your thoughts below. Share what you feel, what you believe should change, or simply your reaction. And subscribe to Homeless US News so you never miss these real experiences happening beneath America's bright lights. Your engagement helps keep these stories visible, and visibility is the first step toward dignity, recovery, and forward movement.
But I'd rather don't have the type of freedom because...
Current efforts to combat the crisis. Las Vegas is trying to respond, even though the need feels larger than the resources available. When you walk into places like the Courtyard Homeless Resource Center early in the morning, you don't just see numbers. You see people who haven't slept inside a building for weeks, finally sitting down without being chased away. You see someone charging a phone just to call a child, someone washing up so they can feel human again, someone holding paperwork to replace an ID they lost months ago. These are small things, yet for the person experiencing them, they represent the first step toward feeling visible again. Shelter options have expanded, especially through private rooms where a door closes and locks. For someone who has spent nights outdoors, listening for footsteps or sudden danger, that door means safety. It means sleep that isn't interrupted every hour. It means a moment to breathe. These improvements lowered the unsheltered rate to around 53%, which is progress, but progress that still leaves thousands sleeping outside. Affordable housing efforts are moving forward too. More than $170 million has been placed into future units, but construction takes time, and people don't have years to wait. Rapid rehousing programs help bridge that gap, offering temporary support so individuals can begin rebuilding, finding jobs, stabilizing income, reconnecting with family. Many residents say that after months of drifting, having a real address is the first moment they feel like themselves again. Projects like the Campus for Hope aim to bring everything together under one place: beds, guidance, skills training, emotional support. For someone who has lost direction, that mix can become a turning point. It's not flashy, it's not perfect, but it gives people a chance to stop falling further. Yet, even with all these efforts, the reality still hurts. There aren't enough beds for everyone. Waiting lists grow. Many show up hoping for help and are told to come back tomorrow. That tomorrow often stretches into months. And if these stories move you, if they make you feel something real, leave a comment below and subscribe to Homeless US News. Your voice, your presence, even your curiosity helps bring visibility to people who have gone unseen for too long. Together, we can keep shining light where darkness has settled and maybe help someone find their way back to belonging.
The ripple effects of homelessness.
Sleeping outside?
Homelessness in
You're
Las
pretty good?
Vegas doesn't just sit on
Right on,
street
brother.
corners.
Wiley.
It spills
Nice
into
to meet you,
daily
buddy.
life in
Nice to meet
ways
you,
that
Wiley.
shape
Good
the
to see you,
city's
buddy.
mood.
All right, I'll go grab 2 more lunches.
When you walk
What's
through
your name?
downtown at night, the
Sean, I'm
sidewalks
Pete.
tell a different version of Las Vegas than tourists
Right on.
expect.
Okay,
Beneath
Steve.
bright screens,
Got you 1, 2
music
today?
pouring from casinos, people gather near walls,
I got a red
under
one that's
awnings,
like a 2-man. It's like
beside
a really, yeah?
planters, trying to sleep where no
Right
one
on.
will bother them.
I just want to see you guys
They
use them,
pull
okay?
jackets
I like
over
you
their
well, buddy.
faces to
You
block
remember
the
me?
wind,
Pete.
or lean against buildings,
You always
just to
take
stay
first, but
awake
it's
long
Pete.
enough to feel safe.
Okay, there you go.
The
Do you
moments
need any
most of
other
us take for
supplies?
granted,
Are
closing
you
your
sleeping
eyes,
outside?
resting quietly, knowing you won't be moved, become fragile luxuries. Living outside erodes a person little by little. Days of brutal heat leave cracked skin, headaches, and dehydration. Nights bring bitter cold that crawls through clothing and bones. Illnesses that could be managed indoors intensify without care. Small infections become hospital visits. Stress becomes panic, and untreated pain becomes unbearable. Emergency response teams show up not because people call for help, but because eventually the body can't withstand another night out there. Each response carries costs, financial and emotional, and those costs echo through the system week after week. Communities feel it too. Families adjust their routes, avoiding streets that remind them of hardship. Businesses pay for added security, not out of cruelty, but because they don't know how to respond. Visitors come expecting excitement, yet walk past someone curled beside a doorway, wondering how a place known for entertainment can carry so much invisible hurt. And beneath that discomfort lies a reality many fear. The distance between comfort and collapse is smaller than most believe. But within that darkness, flickers of progress still appear. A mother finds stable housing and finally rests without worrying where her child will sleep. A man receives identification papers, opens a bank account, and starts working again. Someone who once wandered alone begins attending support meetings, not because everything is fixed, but because hope has space to return. These shifts are quiet, but they matter deeply. So let me ask you something sincere. If someone you care about suddenly lost stability, if they had nowhere to sleep, what help would you hope the world offered them? What compassion would you want strangers to show? If this makes you think differently, leave a comment below, share your thoughts, your feelings, even just a word of support, and subscribe to US Homeless Stories. Your presence here matters. Together, we can keep shining light on people who deserve visibility and dignity, and maybe turn those small flickers of progress into something lasting.
wrapping up in your call to action. As we close this journey through Las Vegas, it becomes clear that behind the lights and promises are lives quietly unraveling in silence. Step away from the strip, beyond the neon glow and casino noise, and you meet people who wake up unsure where they will sleep next, holding on to Recent estimates suggest more than 8,900 individuals now face homelessness across southern Nevada, a number that reflects lives drifting between uncertainty, resilience, and the hope of finding a stable path.
You're welcome.
The shift in who is affected reveals a painful truth.
Before I do right here,
More women are now without reliable shelter. Women who once had stable routines, families, and steady income.
Now I go to another park over there.
Wow.
Yeah, thank you.
Middle-aged
You're welcome.
residents, especially ages 35-64, make up the largest share, showing how fragile stability truly is.
Noodle.
When local support centers report a 15% rise in first-time requests for help, it signals how easy it is for someone to fall, even when they once stood firmly. Meanwhile, housing costs keep rising.
So you want one for her too, or
Rents
just one?
nearing $1,700 per month, deposits out of reach, and waiting lists stretching well beyond a year leave families stuck in motels, vehicles, or open public spaces.
Cho nên uống nước không chú? Uống nước đợi con lấy.
Some sleep beneath overpasses where traffic hums through the night. Others drift through downtown unnoticed, blending into crowds that walk past without slowing down. Yet even in the heaviness, there are threads of progress. Transitional centers now offer rest, showers, clothing, and a moment of peace. Job support programs are guiding individuals toward long-term stability. Some community groups work to keep families together rather than separating them, recognizing that connection is often the foundation for recovery. These small efforts don't end the crisis, but they soften the fall and remind people that rebuilding is still possible. So, let me ask you something sincere. If life turned upside down overnight, how would you want others to look at you? What kind of compassion would you hope someone would extend? Because homelessness isn't just losing a home. It's losing the version of yourself that once felt secure, seen, and supported. If this moves you, share a comment below, even a few words of understanding or reflection. And subscribe to Homelessness News so you never miss the next chapter of truth unfolding across America.
Holy. Amen.
Together, by choosing to care, we help turn hardship into hope and open a doorway toward dignity for those who need it most.
As you said, proclaim here with the help of Jesus. This Buddha, we promised each other free power that will make us strong